Hey there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Crafty Kathy, and I'm so happy and thankful that you stopped in to do a little Christmas crafting and chatting with me today. I have some vintage inspired Christmas DIYs, and let's jump on in. The other day when I was in the Dollar Tree, I noticed these beautiful little lanterns that they had. They had a few different sizes, and this one was $3. I believe this is maybe like the medium size, and I would say the bigger size may even be $5 because it was a lot bigger. So really quickly, I just took a few measurements of this, and what I'm going to use is some of these plastic cutting mats from the Dollar Tree. Now, this was the vision that I had for this piece, and I thought it would be so beautiful because I've seen people create lanterns with these pieces before, and they look like frosted glass. It's really pretty. And at first I was thinking to cut 4 separate pieces off of this because you see the inserts are square. But then I realized that we're going to have one of those panels open so that I can stick my light in there. So I'm only going to need 3 sides of this covered. I hope that makes sense. It will make sense in a moment whenever you're seeing what I'm doing here. But I just basically drew a line that is the height of my lantern, and I cut it out, and we're going to wrap this around 3 sides because I do need to leave that one back side open. Now, my measurements weren't that great because you see it was curved in a little because I've made it too long. You can always take a little bit off, but you can't add a little bit to it. So, the second time's a charm. I got it the exact size that it needed to be. And you see how it just wrapped around, and that was perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. And I'm leaving that back panel open so that I can easily just stick my light in and out. I took one of these metallic markers that comes in the packs at the Dollar Tree, and you will be able to see in just a second when I slide this back out. But I just made 2 little markings down on the bottom here, and that's to show me where I can place a picture at. Because what I wanted to do is put a beautiful picture on the front of this, so when the light reflects through it, it's really going to shine out. And one of the easiest ways to add a beautiful picture to your piece is by transfers. I do have a couple of these Christmas IOD transfers, and I just wanted to show each of them to you. I really love this one, and it's called Partridge Lane. It has a lot of the different little like houses that looks like little Victorian village houses in there, and that's what I thought would look really pretty on the front of this. And look at all these beautiful little wreaths and stuff in here. There's a lot of greens. There's a lot of like little garlands and stuff like that in there. This is probably my favorite one out of their whole Christmas release this year. But you see how this little village is, and that was my thought. Wouldn't that just be so beautiful at the bottom of this lantern and look like a little town kind of shining through with the light coming behind it? This one's called Santa's Hollow. I don't know, this one might be my favorite. It's a very close runner-up. They've got some beautiful scenes in here and a lot of beautiful little animals. A lot of different like old world looking Santas in here. Look how beautiful these are. And there are just so many pictures. See the bells and the holly. I love holly at Christmas time. And I love this picture of Santa with him looking off to the side, almost like he's being mischievous or something. And there's a lot of little birdie pictures in here. You see all the different Santas in this one. It just has a lot of beautiful, vintage looking like transfers in it. And I just think that they are so adorable. And while I'm thumbing through these different transfer books, I do want to mention to you guys, I got mine from Lori over at Milton's Daughter. That's where I always get my IOD transfer books at. But she told me that she's running a special right now that if you buy one of these Christmas transfer books, you get a free rice paper of your choosing. I'm not really sure how long that special is going to last, but it would be worth it just to go over to her website, check out all of the different transfer books there are. And I know that with the price of things right now, all of us have that in the back of our minds with everything that we buy. However, these smaller Christmas books are not that expensive at all. I'm going to start with this one called Partridge Lane. This is the one that has all the beautiful little houses in it. You know, if you don't have transfers, if you want to use something else, another idea would be to put some kind of rice paper on one of these lanterns. It would be gorgeous. Wait until you see the end result of this. So I went through and I picked out a couple of the little houses that I wanted on this lantern, and then I cut out some of this garland that had holly on it because I thought it would be gorgeous around the top. And we're just simply going to transfer this onto our lantern, and it makes a beautiful statement. Now, if you've never used a transfer before, they're super easy. You peel them off just like a sticker, lay it down exactly where you want it to go, and then all of the IOD transfers comes with this special little tool. It's this little plastic piece, and you just basically rub it over the top, and then you just pull off that top plastic sheet, and you're left with the transfer down on the project. And I didn't have to use the whole sheet of both of those garlands. I had to use one and about a fourth of the other one. And so I'm just using the last one up here, and then I'm just going to peel it off, and look how beautiful this is across the top of my lantern. And I have this sped up, but it's really very simple. You just peel that transfer off. You do the same thing every time, and you lay it down where you want it and use that little plastic piece that they send, and you rub over the image, and that will cause it to stick to whatever your project is, and it sticks to just about anything, and you just pull it up. The next one that I'm going to place down is going to be that beautiful church, and you see why I made those small marks at the bottom. That way my house and my church, and then the other house that I put on here, won't be in the way of where the little iron bars of the lantern go, so it's not going to be covering up my picture. And you do the same thing every time. You lay it down on that sheet and you just rub, and then you pull up and your image is on your project. We're going to put one more image down over here on the right hand side, and this is this tall dark house that has a beautiful tree out on the front of it, and I just love the way this turns out. And then up at the top, you'll notice on my garland, I also set a star down because I wanted that to be in the very middle of my garland. And while I'm putting that piece on, I just want to thank you once again for stopping by my channel. I would love for you to hit the like button if you're liking this, and that hype button, because that really helps me out on YouTube. Also, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Now see, I'm just going to put this through these 3 spaces that I told you, because we got to leave that back part open. And then I just put a small bead of glue on the top and the bottom of those 2 sides, just so that it wouldn't kind of move around on me. And if you wanted to, you could stop right there and you've tweaked your Dollar Tree lantern and made it beautiful. But I thought to grab some of this antique gold rub and buff and just go around the corners ever so slightly and around this little piece on the top, just to give it a little gold accent. And I thought it was so pretty. It was just a little bit of a touch that this piece needed. And I hope you like this one. It's very simple. And like I said, if you don't want to do it with transfers, you can do it with rice paper and have an equally beautiful piece. For DIY number 2, I was playing around with some of the new molds. I had created this one mold that is a snow globe, but I was just really drawn to this one called Saint Nick. Look at all the beautiful detail that's in this one. And this is some of the IOD molds that have came out this Christmas. Now, I wanted to make one specifically centered around this face of Saint Nick. But guys, my resin was as old as the hills, and at first, that's the reason why I poured it in that snow globe, because I was kind of afraid that it wasn't going to be good anymore, but it was. The way that you do this amazing 10-minute resin, it takes 10 minutes to harden, is you use equal parts of A and B. And I knew exactly how much that I poured of A, and so here I am just adding B. And B was the part that was a little questionable, the way that it looked. Now, I have had this stuff for well over a year, I know. I did order some more of this from Milton's daughter, but I was just kind of afraid that this might be too old to work, but I was willing to give it a shot anyway. All you do is you put your resin in here, and since this Santa Claus mold is so large, it does require more resin, and it tells you on the side of all their molds exactly how much you need. And so it was going to take 2 little batches, and so I just filled it up, and it also had some holly leaves there. I filled those up, and then I just went around and filled up some of the other mold that I have here that has the snow globes in it, because I never let any of my resin go to waste. And you can see how it's just hardening right before our eyes. When it turns completely white, it's ready to go. This is by far my favorite resin in the world to use because it only takes 10 minutes. Now, since it was so old, the resin itself is supposed to be white, but it had like a yellow hue to it, if you can see in some of these pictures. So I'm just demolding all of these, and that just means just taking them all out of the molds for you to see. And the one of Santa is by far my favorite. Just look how beautiful he is and all the detail. Never mind the fact that it has a little bit of that yellow hue to it because you can paint right over it anyways. The fact of the matter is my resin was still usable and I was so thankful. But look at these beautiful holly leaves too that came out. So I'm just going to take this old thrift store frame that I've had for a long time. It's very pretty and I like the ornate design. And the other day at Hobby Lobby, I bought this paper pack for $7.99 that had a bunch of different Christmas papers, stickers, postcards, that type thing in it. And I knew that I wanted to use one of these as the background, but I didn't want it to be anything that's too busy or anything that really had Santa on it, because my Santa Claus mold is going to be the focal point of this. We're going to make him look like he's 3D. But first I put 2 quick coats of the color Aviary by DIY Paint all around my picture frame. And isn't it funny how our projects evolve? I thought this is going to be so simple, and I'm loving the way that this aviary looks with this background of this holly. I just kind of rubbed around that little insert in the back so that I could feel, like make a little pattern around my paper to show myself where to cut. Wow, all that just to not make a bit of sense. I'm just like fighting over my words here. I'm so sorry. But I'm just trying to show myself the indentation here, where to cut at. Goodness gracious, sometimes words are the hardest thing to get out. So I'm just going to lay this piece of paper down. I'm going to take a permanent glue stick, guys, because a permanent glue stick is permanent. Whereas the other ones, you can just peel your stuff off if you need to. But don't be fooled. The ones that are the purple, just regular old things, they work just as good as the permanent, if you ask me, because, hey, they're just good. But you see, this one is a permanent bond. I have these in my Amazon store. If you like to do easy decoupaging where you ain't got to do a whole lot of steps, listen to Cat. This is the way to do it. You're not going to have any wrinkles. It sticks right on there. And what else could you want? That's what you're looking for, right? You're trying to get it done and move on. I ain't trying to waste all day long playing around with no Mod Podge. Come on. So listen, I put the top back on this sucker, and we're looking at our little Santa Claus here, and all I kept thinking, looking at that yellow in his beard, was he reminds me of one of those 80 mall Santas like I used to go see when I was a kid, that like had just gotten done with his 6-pack of Michelob Light and smoked like 4 packs of cigarettes before he jumped up there trying to have to deal with somebody's kids. I don't know why. I guess it was the yellow in his beard did all that to me. And please don't think that I'm making light of it. It just, for whatever reason, that's what came to my mind when I saw that little Santa Claus all white and beautiful, and then he had that old yellowy beard. So I just went over him with beadboard so that he would be like all the same color, which we wanted him to be white and shiny and beautiful and new looking. And I took this color called, what is this color? Carnival Red. It took me a minute. Now, this is a DIY paint too, and I love DIY's paints. They're just so gorgeous. Like, usually one coat is enough to cover anything. Now, I wanted that hat to be beautiful and red and just like a focal point. And so I went around all the little edges. The next thing that I'm going to do is take this cream color. It's called crinoline. And I'm going to go over his face with it, because I felt like instead of like a stark white face that we wanted kind of a creamy Santa Claus color face. But as I started putting it on his face, I thought, why not go over like the beard with this too? Because, I mean, we don't want his beard to really be snow white, because that's not like real life either. So then I started pulling out, this is what I was talking about a minute ago when I was saying, you know, how projects evolve. I took this Vaseline because God knows that all of my waxes, my clear waxes, are at my other house. And my other house is too far away, but I need it. The reason why you put a clear wax down is because you want to be able to wipe off the color that you're about to put on it really easily. So I thought I could use Vaseline for that. So I put Vaseline all over his beautiful little face so that when I put this Waverly Antique Wax on here, I could just wipe over it, and look at this. All of that brown settled down in the portions of his beard that it needed to settle in. And just look how gorgeous this is. I know it's kind of hard to see it because I was sitting at an angle where I was having to see what I was doing there. But it just made it so gorgeous, y'all. Now, here's the next thing. This, you know, the ones that you think are going to be easy are always the ones that, for some reason, fool me. I put these 2 different colors. The one on the right is the bronze that I always go for. The one on the left is the gold. I actually liked the gold better because, as you guys know, this Christmas there is a lot of gold tones in everything. So I thought, well, let's turn over a new leaf. Let's do something different. Let's do the unexpected, and let's go with gold. So I went over it all with gold, and I even started going over Santa's beard with some of the gold because I thought, wow, that looks great. And then after I went over his beard, I started go over his little face and his hat and just going wild with the gold because I thought, man, I really liked the way that it settled. And I'm going to tell you what. The thing about the IOD molds is they are so intricate. Like, it looks like you're literally looking at Santa. It doesn't look like a mold. It's really phenomenal the way that they make these molds, guys. And it just looks so good. And when I laid it down, I was like, okay, this ain't what I'm looking for. This is not what I'm looking for. So I thought, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some Waverly Antique Wax and we're going to, wax it up a little bit and give it a darker hue and maybe make it more, antique-y looking, a little more vintage looking. And when I wiped that off, I thought, this still isn't what I'm looking for. And this is what I mean by how they evolve. I'm just trying to let you in on a little few moments in my head and how it works when I'm doing these projects, y'all. I did notice a lot of the black still coming through on that frame. And I thought, instead of green, why didn't I just leave it black? I think it would have looked better. So then I pulled out the, this is called Black Velvet, and it's a DIY paint color. I really quickly went over this with Black Velvet because I just had to see if this is what I'm looking for. It's like my heart knew what I was looking for, but my mind was slow to follow. Now, isn't that the story of my life? But that's for another day. So we're going to grab some of the gold after I had painted this black, and we're going to go right back over those little divots again, because I just love to put that gold or the bronze, whatever color I'm choosing, on my finger and just run over the divots of a frame or anything, because it just makes it so beautiful. Now, I know that you have probably noticed that I totally forgot to color the sides of the frame again, but don't worry, I go back and do those black. I just wanted to see if by putting that black on the front, if that's kind of the color that I was looking for. And it was, and I still don't have my wood glue for my mold, so I just used regular hot glue to put my Santa on here. And like I said, I thought this was going to be quick and easy, but I hope you like him nonetheless.
Christmas lights are all around. I can see them now. It's like they spell your name. It's insane. Now we're back here once again. Holidays and cheer. But now I got my eye.
So here we go on our third and final DIY. And guys, I hope y'all don't think I'm some awful person judging that old yellow bearded Santa like I did. I'm normally not a judgmental person. Now this old snowflake, it comes apart like this. I think that I got this at a thrift store, but it has a Dollar General coupon, good gosh, Kathy. It's got a Dollar General tag on the back, so I may have got it at Dollar General. I'm sorry, I've got 500 things in my mind, and let's just try to salvage what we can of this video, guys. I'm so sorry, this is terrible. So I've got the color crinoline here, and I'm just going to go over this middle section because that is where, like, the star is going to be seen, right? And I thought on the edges here, it looks like I've already went over it with some antique Waverly wax. I wanted to do kind of like a heavy dry brushing of the color crinoline that's left over on my paintbrush, and just kind of make it to where it's not totally crinoline and not totally like a brown color. It's kind of dry brushed, okay? I dried it up, and I went into the transfer book called Santa's Hollow, and I looked through a couple of different ones here, and I was really drawn to the deer. I love wildlife. Like at Christmas time, I love different little critters at Christmas, and this deer is just so beautiful. Have you guys been seeing like an overflow of deer on the highway, by the way, that people are hitting? I know that, this time of year is when they mate and you see a lot more, but goodness gracious, what is going on? Like, they are coming out of the woodwork this year. So I'm going to do this just like I did any other transfer. And mind you, this is just for inspiration. If you don't have these transfers, you could do this with maybe a napkin and do decoupage with this. There's so many different things. I just wanted to give you the inspiration so you can go, oh, hey, I've got such and such that would look really good. And I have that snowflake too, by the way, just to give you ideas. So the outer portion here, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep it that Waverly brown color or just go over it with that white wax. And I decided I wanted it to have like the wooden color because it would kind of bring out the whole wildlife theme, I guess. I don't know. That's what was in my head at the time. So I kind of brushed over the whole picture, and I'm just going to go back over this area where I had already put crinoline, and I'm just trying to cover it up and see if this is going to look the way that I want it to. And I went back through with just a little dab of crinoline on the end of my brush. And these are those brushes, by the way, they're fan brushes that I get from Brandy over at the DIY Struggle. They are amazing brushes, by the way. Especially if you do decoupage with like Mod Podge and stuff. They're amazing for that. So I'm just going to go around. I like the way that the deer looked here, his placement. And so I'm just going to go and put some hot glue on the back. And I'm going to pop that little star back on there. And now we're just going to embellish this by adding a few little pieces of cedar at the top. And when I was in Hobby Lobby today, I was being really good. And I went and just bought like 2 or 3 little things. And I got these berry picks. Now, everything right now, their Christmas is half off. These were normally like $5.50, so I paid probably $2.75. But these are great to have to embellish your stuff like this. See how easy that made it? It's little pine cones and the little red berries. And I'm sorry my head's in the way there. But I'm just going to put that at the top. And this is a pre-made bow that I had. The little brown bow in the back came pre-made off of Amazon. The little velvet bow in the front is just some Temu ribbon that was velvet. And I made a simple little shoestring bow out of it and stuck it on the front. But looking back, I didn't feel that I was done. And I looked through all of my stuff that I actually have down here at my new place. And I did have these rusty bells, and I felt like the rusty bells really did go good with this. And so that's how I finished this one off, was by putting the rusty bell right in the center of the ribbon. But I did feel like it needed something else. I always just feel like enough is never enough, you know. So I grabbed this snow paste, and I have some more on the way. This is old as Methuselah. And so I went around with just a little bit of a brush. Now, if you had to ask me what snow paste was, it's like chunky white. I don't know. It's almost like Mod Podge mixed with a chunky white. It does look just like snow. In a minute, I run it through the little cedar sprigs at the top, and it looks just like snow. So I put it in various spots around my picture, and I added a little bit of glitter because, you know me, I couldn't help myself from the glitter. And so everywhere that I put that snow paste, I would just run my extra fine glitter over the top of it, and even some of that chunky glitter because I love my glitz at Christmas.
Then you know it's Christmas, the snow starts to fall. Then you know it's Christmas.
Hey, if you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to thank you so much for coming and crafting and listening to me chit-chat about a whole lot of nothing for a long time. I am so sorry I got so tongue-tied, but it's really late, guys, and I was fighting with my thoughts and trying to get them out, and sometimes, like I said, words are the hardest thing to find, especially when you're thinking in your mind, this is making no sense. This is making no sense. But I hope that you guys will subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button, and there's a new thing called the hype button. I would love for you to hit that because it really helps my videos get boosted on YouTube. I love you guys, and I'll see you back here real soon as long as the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Did you know that if you're on a phone or a tablet that you can just tap on my face right here and it'll subscribe you to my channel? And I would love for you to do that. Also, if you did like this video, here's another one right here that has very similar content. If you tap on that one, it'll take you there here in just a minute. God bless you and your family.